What's up guys, welcome back to Game Dev with AI. Mike here. In this series we are gonna try to create our first real-time strategy game, indie game, without any programming skills whatsoever with the help of AI, tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney and so much more. In case you missed my intro, please check it out before we get into this video. In my intro I explained the concept of the game, what engine I'm gonna use and what's the workflow. In short, I'm gonna use tools like ChatGPT to help me and explain step by step what to do. And then I'm gonna use an engine called Construct 3, which is a great engine for 2D games. And finally, for all my artwork and assets, I'm gonna use Midjourney, which will help me generate all the artwork that I need. This way everything in our game will be original. We are not gonna use any libraries or assets that you buy from other sources. And in this first video I'm gonna show you how we set our game in Construct 3 and we set initial objects and initial pathfinding for our hero tank. Remember guys, this is not a tutorial and I'm not a professional programmer. This is a challenge to show you how I create the game without any programming skills. That's why I don't have any. If you're looking for exactly professional step-by-step tutorial, just look elsewhere, because here I'm gonna try different things, I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna try to find solutions with you. So if you just want to find a ready-to-go solution, this is not the one. We'll be doing a lot of mistakes, we'll be finding the ways to solve them together, and that's the way to go for me. And the best way to stay accountable is to make the video series to show my progress. This way I'll stay motivated in case it takes several months or even several years to make this game. We'll see how long it goes. Before we get going, it's good if you take a few minutes to learn Construct 3 engine. They have an intro guide, kind of a quick start tutorial that you can complete, and also watch this video by Game Design with Riley. It's called Construct 3 RTS Style Pathfinding and Movement. This guy Riley is amazing. He will explain to you step by step on how to create basic elements, how the interface works. It's just 10 minutes, but it will give you an idea of what we're doing, so I don't have to recreate exactly the same tutorial for you step by step. Since I'm not a professional coder, I don't know the solutions upfront, so I cannot do this development in real time. This would take hours and hours. What I will do is to show different stages of our game and different solutions that I found that worked for me and how I did it, so you can replicate them in case you're creating your own game. So instead of just showing you exactly what I'm doing step by step and taking hours, this will create quick chunks of 10-minute videos where we solve different issues, and I will explain how I did it to help you replicate them. When you're learning, it's very good to see quick progress. Instead of diving deep into each step, I want to create very quick progress, which I can do in just one day, and this will help me stay motivated. For example, I can spend days and days making a perfect background, perfect lands, perfect buildings, but this will just overwhelm me. So instead, I will quickly assemble the game real quick in one day, and then we can dive deep into each element and try to improve it together. Hope it makes sense. So before creating our sprites and creating our game, it's good to create original assets that we'll need. In my case, what we need right here is a hero tank. Let me zoom a little bit for you. So what I have here, hero tank, hero soldier, an enemy blue tank, enemy blue soldier. I have our fort here. I have different variations of mountains. I have different variations of water. I have a background image, and I have a tower, a flag tower, which can be captured. These are original assets that we'll need for this step of the game. To create my original assets, I am using Midjourney 4. At the time of the recording, this is version 4. I hope if you're watching this later, they developed better ones. This is pretty good, but it has a lot of issues that I will explain to you. I am giving text like, for example, Clash Royale, style mountain, tile from the real-time strategy game of 1996 with white background and no text, no buildings. As you can see, it's generating me all the assets that I need. Then I can click and do variations of different assets. For example, I can upscale number 4, this one, if I like it, then it will upscale it for me. Or I can do different variations. If I click V1, I'll get variations of this rock. Here you can see I did different variations of this rock. They look kind of similar. White background is very important for us because we need transparent background. So I spent whole day developing assets for the game. As you can see, I developed our hero tank. This one I liked a lot. I developed our enemy tank. This is pretty quick, but you need a lot of assets, guys. So each one takes maybe 5 minutes to make, but you need a lot of them. Hero tank, enemy tank, our fort. This fort I like. This is our flag tower. Then we need rocks. Then we need some water. And finally we need backgrounds. I'm giving the tag Clash Royale style top-down game background with grass and roads from the real-time strategy game, aspect 7:4 to make them not square but rectangular. Obviously this is not ideal because I need those elements separately later in the game. I don't need them all displayed like this, but for the first step it's good enough because I don't want to be getting too much overwhelmed in this stage. So I just get what I have and get started. Obviously this view will not work, it has to be top down, something like this. Finally we need some water elements, so pick the water as well. And the next stage, we save them to your computer, and we need to remove background for our main sprites. On stuff like this, we have to remove the white background. To do so, I use clipmagic.com. It's a free tool, and you can choose. And then it's using AI, and it's automatically removing background, and it's much better than Photoshop. But if you're good with Photoshop, you can do it there. But like I said, all I want to do is just use AI, and then you can download it. It's asking you to pay, but if you download small preview, that's more than good enough for us. So we don't really need to worry about this stage. Additionally, for our water sprites, we need to select water from these drawings that Midjourney gave us. So basically, I'll just use Photoshop and just erase islands that I don't need to take the water from here. So I just remove the rest of the stuff that I don't need and just create the new PNG file with just a sprite of water without all this extra stuff. And this way I have sprites of the water. Now that we got our sprites in PNG format with the removed background, we can create our original objects. Here we right click here and click add new object type. I already created them, obviously. What objects we'll have? We'll have background, you can choose, it's called tiled background object. This one. Here I simply load an image of the background that we created. Pretty simple, right? So far so good. Then I create an object called mountain, the same, add new object type, then choose sprite, and then create mountain. Here we have several mountains that we need. Mountain 1, mountain 2, mountain 3. You can again load the images here, and you can see the background is already removed. Next we create an object called mouse. This will help us automate the mouse movements in the game. Next, an object our fort. The same way we do SPR enemy tank. SPR means sprite. In programming, people suggest to include type of the object before its name, so you will know this is a sprite. SPR flag, SPR hero tank, SPR troops enemy, SPR troops friendly, and finally water. The next step would be to locate everything in the right places. You can simply drag and drop what you need. Let's say I want one more mountain here. I just drag and drop and I have more mountains here. I resize it. This is really easy without any programming whatsoever. For mountains, since they're not moving and we need pathfinding to work, we right click on the mountains and then we click edit behaviors and we just add new behavior called solid. This way our mountain will be used in the pathfinding, so our tanks and robots are not going over it. It's very easy and intuitive. The same way I created my water here. As you can see, I use different types of water. We have 3 types of water, and you can choose on the left here water 2, water 1, and you can see it will change how it looks. Next I put our friendly units, SPR hero tank, I put 3 of them, and the troop friendly soldier over here. I also created a new family called our units, which includes tanks and the soldiers. So all our units are inside this family called our units. Finally, we need to set the behavior for our units. For example, in the hero tank, I right click and choose edit behaviors, and I have here pathfinding and custom, and later you'll understand how I use them and why. Additionally, to make sure that our tank is changing color when we select it, I create an effect, right click on the hero tank, edit effects, and add effects called Tint. Tint will just color it green when it's selected, so we can toggle on and off to make sure the selected units are green. The size of the level is 1920 times 1080 HD size. For now we don't have any scrolling, so it just opens full screen for me, and that's it. Regarding animations, I didn't create any except for the main hero tank. As you can see, In Photoshop, I created 4 frames here, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and they simply animations called driving, where I move the turret up and down. So when it's moving up and down like this. That's the only animation I got so far. Finally, let's check our sheet of the game and see what I already added. If you watch the tutorial of Riley, you'll understand what we did here. This took me a few hours to do, so I'm not going to do it in real time for you, because it takes a lot of try and error. For guys who have no programming skills, remember, there is no right solution from the start. You have to experiment a lot with it. But the best part is ChatGPT will be telling you exactly what to do. So it's telling you step by step what to change, what events to choose, so what conditions to use. So it's really very specific, so don't be afraid. It's quite easy. It takes time, it takes a lot of trial and error, but it's doable. And ChatGPT will explain to you how to do it step by step as well. So as you can see here, we have a global variable wonderRange, which we'll use later in the script. Now, first step is to use our mouse object to define which unit is currently selected. We created mouse. To create events, it's very easy. You just click add event and then you choose, for example, mouse. And then you do next on click. You select what needs to be done. If left is clicked, done. And then if left is clicked, do this action. Basically do, for example, troop friendly. And then we can set it selected. So we can do everything without any coding, just this step by step. I'm not going to do it in real time, which takes way too much time, but I will just explain what we already did. It's very easy, just few clicks. It's knowing what to do is difficult and takes a lot of time, but clicking is really easy. The logic is very simple so far. We have on mouse, if left button is clicked on our hero tank, we put it selected to true. The selected is a variable, which is a boolean, which can be true or false. You can choose, right click, edit instance variables, and here all the variables for our tank, it can be selected. Then we have prev x, which is previous x position of our tank, and then we have health. So far, nothing else. 3 variables for the tank. Now, if we right click mouse somewhere, then selected will be false. This way, with left click we select the tank, with right click on something else we deselect the tank. Now it's very important to make sure deselection works properly. We have to check if cursor is not over tank. So this is an inversed. Cursor is not over tank basically. So conditions are the following. If left button is clicked on something else and it's not tank, it means we want tank to go to that position. And if tank is also selected, then our tank should run the pathfinding. And you can see everything here is very easy and automated. We don't need to write the code of pathfinding like in other engines. In our case, in this engine, it's very, very simple. All we need to do is just choose the point where we want to go. In this case, I create a simple condition called random, which puts the random, which selects the random number between mouse X position -20 plus and mouse X position +20, and the same for Y. Why we need this? And why we just not set mouse X? You see, if we run the game and if we select 3 of the units and we select one point, they will all go to that point. But if we spread them a little bit, this way they will not be overlapping. I really don't want them to be overlapping at this stage. That's why we add randomization to the point where they will arrive. I think I'll need to add more randomization. They still arrive in one point, so there are things to improve. So maybe instead of 20, I'll set 40. This way it will arrive not all of them arrive to one point. You see, they arrive in, oh, now it's much better. Instead of all overlapping and arriving in one point, they arrive already to little bit different spots, and that's much better. The next line is basically if our SP hero tank found the path, it should move along the path. It makes it go basically. Next, we need to color it when it's selected. If you notice, it becomes green when I click on it. So if tank is selected, we enable effect called Tint and make it green. And if it's not selected, which is inverse, see, right click, invert, this condition is inverted, then we disable the effect Tint. Now this is not really needed at this stage, but I really wanted them to capture the flags already. And so while I was playing with Tint, I also decided to enable Tint on our SPR flag tower. The condition I'm using is for SPR flag tower, if it's overlapping with our tank at the offset of 50-50, which means we don't have to arrive exactly to the position of the flag, but be somewhere around it. Then we put the red tint on the tower. So you can see here, if I select our tank and go to the tower, I don't have to arrive exactly to it, but it comes green. So I'm basically already capturing stuff. I can capture this tower as well, and it will become red, I mean, not green, red. Tanks are becoming green. Now remember, we have water and we have rocks. If you just saw, the pathfinding is already working. For example, if I say go here into the rocks, it will go around it. It will not go into the rocks, it goes around it. See? So pathfinding is already working. This engine is very helpful. Imagine how difficult this would be to code in Unity or Unreal Engine. Here it's all automated and it already goes around it. See, it perfectly goes around it. Now we have water, and what I wanted to do is make sure if we cross the water, that's not a preferable way to cross. We want to go around water. And if there is no way around, for example here we cannot go, we have to cross the water, then we'll be punished and our speed should be decreased if we're crossing water. For example here, you can choose the path around, which is long path, or it can go straight, which will be still faster, but he'll be punished with slow speed. See? He decided to cross. To make sure that tanks don't want to go to the water all the time, we need to add punishment for him for crossing the water. For example, if I choose him to go here, he can go through the water or he can go around. Let's see which will he choose. He chose to go over water, and he should be punished for doing this. Let's see how we can do this. We create a system event on start of layout. For our hero tank, we add pathfinding object water with path cost 20. Each path has cost, so if you increase the cost of path, it will be less desirable. We can put it, for example, 40. So this should make it less desirable to go over water. And if our tank still goes over water, so tank is overlapping with water, then we should set his maximum speed, for example, to 50, so it will go super slow when it's going over water. Let's check. So now let's see if it crossed the water or go around it. See, now water is here. My sprites are not perfect, but you can see it's going super slow. So if it's crossing the water, now it's going super slow. And I think our mistake is here that we don't return his speed back to the proper speed. He's now slow forever. He's still wet. But again, fixing this takes a lot of time, so I need to ask ChatGPT how to resolve this, and I can show you just what I do in this case. I'm not going to wait for hours. Let's see. So this is what I'm gonna to ask ChatGPT. I'm asking ChatGPT, when crossing the sprite of water, reduce our tank speed to 50 to make him go super slow. How to make his speed return to normal fast speed once he's out of the water. And here ChatGPT is telling us you can use on collision with another object event to detect when the sprite is colliding with the water. Then you can use global variable to store the original speed of the tank before it entered the water. So you can see ChatGPT is very helpful. It would take me some time to implement this, understand this, and do this. I'm not going to do it real life with you, but this is how I'm solving the issues. This is just an example, so it's very possible to solve it. Finally, to complete the pathfinding, there are a couple of more issues we have to fix here. As you know, our sprite of the tank is pointing right. So when it's moving right, I removed a rotate of the object. I removed it, otherwise it will be rotating around its center. And when tank is moving right, it's pointing right. And now if it's going up, it's still pointing right. It's not going to be rotating around itself. But now the problem is, if I go left, it will still be pointing right. So I need to mirror it. This was a very difficult task, which I already solved. It took me a few hours to make sure when it's going backwards, you see it's displayed as mirrored. This way it looks much better. When it's going back, it's not pointing right. As you can see, we didn't do this for these enemies. That's why when they go backwards, they still all point left. They're not flipping around. We tried a lot of solutions. ChatGPT was suggesting me to check the angle of rotation, but since our objects don't rotate, it's pointless to check its rotation. So this solution didn't work, and we had different solution. So for system, every tick, if our tank is moving along the path, we're checking the parameter for system compare two values. We check an x coordinate of the tank is less than previous coordinate, which is a variable of our object tank. In case it's true, we set it as mirrored, so it means it's moving left, and we set previous x to tank hero x position. Now we need to remove mirrored if it's moving right, so we do the same. But instead of less, we do greater than, and this way we set not mirrored, and we also update its variable prefx for the current x position. So this solution worked for me. It looks very simple, but it took me hours with ChatGPT to figure how to do it without considering the angle. Final issue with pathfinding is when our units arrive to one point, they keep getting stuck together. To avoid this, the extra code is needed, which will automatically spread them around. Look, they arrive together and now they're trying to spread around. They're not standing on each other. See, they perfectly spread around. It takes some time for them to figure out, but they don't remain standing on top of each other. You can see in this test I have so many tanks and they somehow figure out how not to stand on top of each other. Pretty cool, right? Again, this took me forever to figure out. I'll just show you a final solution instead of wasting time. So if our tank is moving, pathfinding on, sorry, if our tank arrives to the final destination of our pathfinding and additional, it's called and another condition, and it's overlapping with other units, it's a family of our units, then we find path to the random location, which will be x coordinate plus a random amount and y coordinate and a random amount. Basically, it means when it arrives to the specific location, it will find a path to random location around it instead of standing on top of other units. Next, for our enemy units, we decided to make a basic wandering so they don't just stand. For system, for every 1 second, our enemy troops should start wandering around. They create pathfinding with our variable wander range. Basically, for the current position, we add this wander range, which is 20, and that's how far they should wander around every second. And then once they find this path, they start wandering around. Let's check it out. As you can see, our enemies don't just stand, they wander around a little bit. That's pretty cool. And the final thing that we do in this video, we decided to do our fort to spawn units. I wanted to see how it can spawn the units. So for every 3 seconds, our fort will be spawning the hero tank unit in the location of our fort x coordinate. But this way they will be all getting stuck on top of the fort. I want them to get out of the fort, not just stay inside the fort. That's why I did second action, which is for our tank that was just made, is to find path of our fort x coordinate plus 200 and y plus 200. This way, every 3 seconds, our fort here is spawning a new tank, and see it's coming out like it was produced, and then it comes out. And if they come out to the same place, obviously, I could add randomization so they don't come just exactly same place. But they still spread around using our previous logic. To make sure they all don't come to exactly same place, I can add also random here. For example, from minus 20 or 40 to 40. This way, it's not going to be producing exactly to same place. Let's check. So now our tanks in the fort should be produced and come to a little bit different position. See? And then they spread again. So they come to a little bit different position. And later we can develop logic where we click the fort and we set the rally point in our game so that our tanks that are produced are not just staying around fort, but go somewhere we need, like in real-time strategy games. Here we go. In just 1 day, we created all of this, which is really cool for me. We didn't use any programming whatsoever. We used ChatGPT to help us, and I hope you'll find this helpful. And in the next video, we are gonna develop basic shooting to see if we can shoot some enemies, reduce their health, destroy some tanks, and make some action. So I'll see you next one. Take care. Cheers. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to leave me some comments explaining how I could improve this process to make it easier, better, because I don't know all the features. I'm just learning just like you, and we can learn together and improve our game together. That's all. Cheers. See you next time. Bye.